moment we've waited for. AbilityMKE now.
Welcome to Ability MKE Now. My name is Sue Roskopf. Here at Ability MKE Now, we are dedicated to connection, inclusion, community, bringing people together, and being relevant to everybody. That is exactly what we do here, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own, with people we know, or with people we encounter in our everyday lives. We all have different and unique abilities, and that is what we celebrate here. Here at Ability MKE Now, we celebrate the ability in all of us. And joining us today is my co-host, Michael Martin Humel. Michael is a writer, speaker, and podcaster who works to bridge the gap between disabled and able-bodied people. And I am so happy to see you, Michael. How are you?
I'm very good. Good to see you too.
So any news, any updates on your end?
We have our next event on the 25th, and it's the theme is autism.
Excellent. So April 25th is an upcoming Saturday here. And the theme is on autism, and that should be a very popular theme because that is something that has become more and more common to know folks around us and to be acknowledging folks around us that are in that world, in the in the space of autism. And the more we know, the more good we can do, and the better we can communicate and all the things. So I'm excited because I know you're so good with bringing in experts and sharing their stories and the series that you do. Remind us of the name of the series.
It's called.
And actually say that one more time. It didn't come through on mine. Stories of Diversity. So excellent. All right. Thank you so much, as always, for being here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our special guest tonight.
You're cutting out.
Oh, boy. I'm cutting out. Okay. Well, I'm hoping I am back all right now because we have an amazing guest joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in Rob Baugh. After suffering a traumatic brain injury from a freak accident, his life changed overnight. Like many survivors, he had to face confusion, setbacks, and the challenge of rebuilding his life in ways he never expected. Rather than allowing the injury to define him, he chose to use his experience to help others who are going through similar struggles. Today, he is focused on raising awareness and supporting the brain injury community. Rob, I am so happy to have you with us. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, I'm thrilled you're here. I know we got to meet briefly at another event, and I felt so much like we just clicked and had so many
We really
connecting
did.
points.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit more of your backstory.
Yeah, so I work from home and we have a fish pond in our backyard. It'll be 6 years in this July when this happened to me. I was on my last break. I went outside to feed the fish like I do every day. And as I was coming in the door, a bee flew by my head. And spoiler alert, I'm allergic to bees, very allergic to the point where I was hospitalized once when I got stung. So, knee-jerk reaction as I'm opening the door, I was ducking at the same time and I knocked myself out. I don't know how long I was out. It was probably less than a minute, but when I woke up, I was holding my head and I thought, wow, this is going to just leave a big goose egg tomorrow. And then when I removed my hand from my head, I saw the sea of blood and I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh no.
No, I don't think we're going to have a goose egg. I think this is bad.
Wow.
Yeah. And my wife, who had just got laid off at work because the company just closed up. Um, and it was the start of COVID as well. She was in the kitchen cutting up pineapple. So I walked over to the window and I started waving at her and she waves back. She's thinking, what's he doing, you know? So she comes out eventually and she sees the back patio looks like OJ had been there. And she goes, "What did you do?" I said, "The only thing I could get out of my mouth was B." And she's thinking, a bee did not do this.
But it was a culprit.
Yeah, he was the reason it happened, but he wasn't he didn't cause it. It was my knee-jerk reaction. So she's like, "We got to get you to the hospital." And I'm going, "We got to call my boss." She's like, "No, no, no. We got to get you to the hospital." And I was very adamant because I'm still on the clock. So my wife calls my boss and my boss says, "Get to the hospital." What are you calling me for? To go to the hospital. So yeah, and that from that day forward, that my life completely turned on a dime.
Wow. And I know when we met before, I never got the full story. We had a very brief time at that day
Yeah,
that when we talked. So, wow. And one thing that goes through my mind is thank God that bee didn't sting you at the same time of all that. Oh my
right.
gosh. That would
Yeah,
be the whole nother story here.
yeah. But my wife got me to the hospital in record time. And the sad thing is, and I tell this every time I share my story with anybody, and this is part of the reason why I'm so passionate to spread awareness for brain injuries. When you go to the hospital and you walk out that door, you're on your own. You have no idea what to expect. They tell you to go home, rest a few days, and return to work, which is the worst advice you can give anybody that had a traumatic brain injury. So I did just that, and I'm going back to work, and I'm stuttering, and my speech was not the only thing that was stuttering. My fingers wasn't typing the right words. I go
Wow.
back sometimes and see the emails that I sent, and like, why did they let me keep working?
Oh my
I can't even
goodness.
read this.
Oh, but that's so interesting because the brain it's the powerhouse here, it's all the
Right.
information goes through there, and when you
Hmm.
get rattled, I mean physically when your brain gets rattled like that, there's an effect.
It does. It does. And the confusion, it's how I ended up explaining it to other people is because the worst thing you can say to somebody that's a brain injury is, "You look fine."
Oh,
Well, yeah, of course. How am I supposed to look? You don't, brain injuries don't come with a cast. You know,
right.
so it's just like going to make a cup of coffee. You take that for granted. How often do you go to the Keurig and make a cup of coffee? And now I go there and there's a whole process going in the background that people don't see. You don't see the okay, I'm here. Oh, okay, I've got to lift the lid up. Now what? Oh, now I got to grab a coffee. There's this whole script going in behind the scenes that people don't see.
Yeah, it changed it. Wow. So okay, now I know. So that was a horrible event that happened.
Yeah,
But from what I understand about what you've done since then, you are working your tail off to make life better for others who
yeah,
are going through this horrible event. Like, there's all sorts of varieties of how traumatic brain injuries can happen, but
yeah,
that aftermath. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing to help others.
yeah. So I spent the first couple of years laying in bed and I would pray every night, "God, give me a purpose for this pain." I never once said, "Why me?" From the day it happened, I always said, "How can I use this to help others?" And then I was talking to my therapist one day and I said, "I'm going on YouTube and I don't see anything where people are sitting around talking about their brain injury symptoms. I see doctors that are saying this is what a brain injury is." Well, I know what one is. I got one. I want to hear lived experiences. And my therapist just looked at me and she said, "Then why don't you do it?" I'm like, "Well, the answer's been there all along, and I just needed someone to tell me what to do." But in
Amazing.
typical Rob fashion, this is my wife speaking behind the scenes here. She'll say typical Rob fashion, one thing's not enough for him. I got the podcast going and I've made so many great friends and so many people encouraging me while I'm trying to encourage them. And then I wrote a book and I'm like, how am I supposed to publish a book? I've never, first of all, never written a book. How do you publish a book? And then I had a guest on who had just got published. And I said, how did you publish your book? And she goes, let me get you in touch with her. So I sent the manuscript off, and 2 or 3 weeks went by, and I'm thinking, I guess they're not interested in what I have to say. And then I get a call out of the blue, and she said, I have one question for you. Why do you want to write this book? And I said, well, the reason I want to write it is I don't want other people to go through what I went through and not have like a roadmap to say, this is how things can get better. I want to improve other people's lives after this. And she said, that's the right answer. I'll publish your book.
Awesome. That's
Pardon me.
amazing. And if I believe, was this actually Heather that I met
Yeah,
at, oh,
Heather Felty is.
Heather Felty. So she is the one that actually connected us in another event that we attended. So thank
Yeah.
goodness for Heather.
And Heather has a way of pulling more out of you than you know was in there because when I had submitted my book to her, I thought it was done. And we had our first meeting, and she said, your book's not done yet. You have a lot of more story in you. I'm like, how much story is in there? Because I hit my head on the door. But I'll be daggone if she didn't. I mean, as a really thin manuscript turned into a, a huge book, and everything that I wanted to include, resources, things like that, is all in there.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
And what is the name of your book?
It's called My Life Rewired.
My Life Rewired. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, what a great title.
Yeah. Because I felt that was from day one, I felt like my life had been completely rewired because I didn't know. You look in the mirror, you look the same as you did before the accident, but the person that was there is no longer there.
Oh my goodness. So, yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I what I we've talked before, but I wanted to know what daily pain do you go through as with your injury? What is a typical day for you as far as your pain?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I still work. And the good thing is that what I was doing before my injury, I'm still doing now. But they have added other routines to us, and I'm not
Mhm.
good with change in routine because I thrive on routine. So I have the best boss in the world. She has put surrounded me with so many people that are very knowledgeable and can help me when I need help, which is quite often. But
Mhm.
yeah, so a typical day for me is I can't sit in front of the screen for a full 8 hours. Pre-injury Rob, you had to force him to take a break from work because I just kept going and going. Like, I don't need a lunch today. But now I have to take a break every 2 hours so I don't have that screen because when you're living with a migraine headache, and that's another thing, I've had a migraine for almost 6 years now. But when you're living with that, looking at a screen is the last thing you want to do.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. But yeah, my whole routine, Michael, though, to answer your question, is it's pretty much the same thing every day. And if that routine changes, it throws me in a tailspin. Um, I take medicine at the same time every day. And 2 months ago, my mother-in-law passed away. So my wife has been home, doing all this, and my routine's just out of whack. And I'm constantly forgetting to take my afternoon medicine because she's here and I'm not used to that.
And so, would you say that's kind of a common piece that getting a routine set, is that a good pointer that you can share with somebody then?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. because routine builds neuroplasticity. I'm sure have all heard that word before.
Yeah.
So that is a good thing. But then once you get away from your routine, it's a whole new beast. Like I don't do a lot of driving on my own anymore. I like to have her with me. And if it's very far, I don't want to drive at all because I will get confused as to like to where I'm going. And there's been times like I'll go to the dentist and halfway there I'm going, where am I going? And then I get all, then that's when the anxiety hits and you have to pull over and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? But my wife, she's a genius. She put a sticky notes in both cars. So if I do have to go somewhere by myself, I write down in the sticky note where I'm going and I plop it on the steering wheel. So halfway there, if I forget, all I got to do is just glance down and, oh, going to the dentist. Oh, you're going to the chiropractor.
That's brilliant. What a simple solution.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what it takes. You need to come up with there's a way. There's a solution in front of us. It's just a matter of figuring what it
Hmm.
is. And so what a great thing that you're sharing here with us, because I'm sure there's somebody that could hear that and be like, "Oh, yeah, exactly. That's what I needed to,
Yeah.
that'll fix my problems." Or
Hmm.
well, one
So
anyway.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some other? So, I know you are really good with sharing your experiences with others and helping to shorten that learning curve of what do I need to know now. What are some of the favorite things you like to share?
Oh, a memory station for one. You're going to
Ooh,
what?
yeah.
I went to Target. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular, but Target had this I want to call it like a letter holder or something like that, but it had other compartments where you can put like envelopes and things like that. That's my memory station. Everything that I do not want to lose, that I have to have access to, that's where they go when they're not in my hands. My car keys, my wallet, my glasses, keys to other things around the house that I might need to unlock. Anything that's of utter importance that we cannot lose goes in my memory station.
Okay,
That's a good idea.
that's brilliant. That's
Yeah,
something we
I
all
love,
need.
I love that.
Yeah. I've not lost my keys in 6 years.
Amazing. Sometimes it is the simple answers that can make such a difference. So I love that.
Yeah. It's the same guy that gets in the shower and goes, did I get a towel out? And then I have to call for my wife. Will you get me a towel?
So, oh my goodness. I've got all sorts of thoughts going through my head here. So let me back up for a second here. I know you also have your own podcast. I want to make sure to talk
Yeah.
about that too. Tell us about your podcast.
Yeah. So the podcast is called Life Rewired. So we kept it in the family.
I like
Yeah.
that.
But the podcast is started out as just a brain injury podcast. But I thought, we have so many people out there who are going through the similarities, like, people with cancer. You can't see cancer, and unless the person's, got a bald cap on or something, or not a bald cap. Sometimes words don't come out right, but the scarf over their head,
Yeah.
you can tell that they're probably going through chemo. But other than that, you cannot see cancer. So cancer survivors, LDS, autism, anything that you can't physically see, I want those people to come on and share their stories because there's so much community that's built in that. And people to know that they're not alone in this world. There's better days ahead.
That's huge. And because when something happens to you, it's a very personal thing. You're the one that's affected. I mean, people
Hmm.
around maybe as well, but you're experiencing this, and to know you're not alone. Others have gone through something similar, and we can work this together. Let me help you. Just to know you're not alone is just that alone is a piece of hope that a person can grab onto and help
Yeah.
them get to the next day and the next day and days getting better.
Hmm. And because I'm out there so much in the public, forcing my story in everybody and forcing awareness in everybody. I have just strangers will message me on Facebook and say, I've listened to Life Rewired on whatever format they may have listened to it on, and um, my uncle got a brain injury, or my aunt or neighbor. Would you talk to them? Sure. So I've had many conversations that's not even on podcasts, just with one-on-one with people, just so they know that okay, I'm not losing my mind. It is normal to act to put my keys in front of me and go, where to put my keys at? Yeah, it's totally normal.
So what is your favorite thing that you've been able to do with helping others? Is there I love stories. Do you have a story that you can share with
Oh,
somebody you've
I
helped?
I do have a story, and I don't know the person. They emailed it. They emailed it to me, and we did a program about what not to say to a brain injury survivor. We had a long, and that's been a very popular program. But I have found that through this journey, every time I got to the point where I thought, is anyone even listening? Am I making a difference? Should I keep going? Every time I get to that point, I get an email, a letter, or a comment on the YouTube channel or something. But I was having one of those days where I thought, geez, this podcast should have done a lot better than that. And why didn't it do that? Should I keep going? And then I opened my email, and this lady emailed me, and I won't give her name because I've never asked her permission. But she said, thank you for doing this. She had been living with a brain injury for 5 years, and let's stop right there real quick. My numbers come out weird because of the brain injury. 1 through 9 is okay, but after that, it's 10, 1, 2. But she said, I've been living with this for the last 5 years. My husband's always saying, you're lazy. You're just using this as a crutch. He doesn't think that my symptoms are real. And she said, when I saw this podcast, I made him watch it. And she said, after he watched it, he came up to me and he said, I want to apologize to you. He said, I have basically berated you for the last 5 years. And I know that you're not making it up. He says, I'm so sorry for what I put you through.
Oh, wow. What a difference that made in their life, in their relationship. That,
Mhm.
oh, wow. It-
I'm about to cry.
yeah, it's like that that hits you in the feels right there. you know?
Yeah.
Does. And I won't delete that email because every time I feel, am I making a difference? I always go back and read that because it's not because something that I did. It's because, something that God's put in front of me and said, hey, you've been dealt this hand. Now, what are you going to do with it?
And I love that attitude because oh my goodness, that it's not easy to be in that position and to say, hey, okay, what am I supposed to be doing with this? And then doing something. So many
Yeah.
people, we have those moments like, feel sorry for ourselves, and it's like, why me? Why all those
Hmm.
things where it's so easy to fall into that I'm gonna say like the negative side of it, the really it's a destructive side of that. You really, if you can see the other side where it's like, okay, there's a lesson here, there's a purpose here. What is it that I'm supposed to do with this? Because yeah, I think there's a purpose for everything, and
Yeah.
sometimes we might not see it right away, but there's a reason things happen. And if we
Hmm.
can just have faith in that and move forward with where, kind of
Yeah.
where our heart's leading us,
Yep.
it goes to good places.
Yeah. I even started a support group on Facebook. I joined so many support groups, and I have found that there are some great support groups and there's some really toxic ones out there. So that's one thing I always tell people when you join a support group, fill the room out first. See how the room is. And if they're all negative, run. You don't want to be around that.
You don't
Your
need
healing
that.
is not going to come from nothing good comes from negative. And the reason I decided to start my own support group was when I started the podcast and I was trying to get guests to come on. In the beginning, no one wanted to come on. Now everybody wants on. But in the beginning, this one guy, and it's funny, I can't tell you what I had for breakfast, but I can remember this. He's another brain injury survivor. And he said, I don't know what you're thinking you're going to accomplish. You're not going to change the world. And I said, no, I'm not naive. I'm not going to change the whole world. And then my mind went back to a story that I heard when I was a kid. My pastor said this little boy was walking down the beach and the tide had come up and he was picking up the seashell, the starfish, because if they're out of the water, they're going to die. And he was tossing them back in the ocean. And this grumpy old man walked by and he says, little boy, he says, you're not going to make a difference for every one of those starfish. And the little boy picked up the next starfish and he goes, no, but I'm making a difference for this one, as he tossed it back in the ocean. That's what it's all about.
I love that story because you are nailing that on the head. If you can make a difference for one,
Hmm.
you made the difference. You made
Yeah.
the story you shared with the husband and wife, where that podcast that made the difference for them. So that's where you
Yeah.
know what you're doing is good. It's all worth it, and you're using the what happened to you. You're using it for good. You're making a
Yeah.
difference out there, and I can't thank you enough for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So, well, I know we've just got a couple minutes here yet. I want to just give you the floor for a moment here. If there's anything that you want to make sure to share before our time is up, whatever that might be.
Sure. One thing I wanted to tell you that if my publisher s- wanted me to do a website, I don't know anything about websites, zero. And I told her, I said, if you do it, you got to show me what I'm doing, first of all. And second of all, we have to have a resource page because I have found, and here we're 6 years out, and I'm still finding resources that I didn't know existed for survivors. So every time I find something that's beneficial to anybody, I put it on my webpage. So I've got a whole list of things that's free to people, just like people that's going back to the job. There's a place called jan.org, Job Accommodation Network. They work with you to get you anything that you need to continue to work. I had no idea they even existed. So that's a resource. So anything I find that is free or beneficial to survivors, it goes on my webpage, My Life Rewired.
Awesome. What a treasure, because that is the hard part of this is all new. You weren't
Mhm.
expecting this. Where do you
Right?
start? How do you begin? That's to me. What I think about that, it's like that's an intimidating thought of I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
So to provide that and give people a starting point and resources at their fingertips, that oh my gosh, what a difference that makes for anybody who finds himself in that unfortunate position of oh my gosh, I've got to deal with this now. What's next?
Hmm.
So I want you to go ahead and tell us again the name of your book, and the name of your website.
It's My Life Rewired is the book, and the website is simply myliferewired.com.
Excellent. Wow, Rob, this has been such a pleasure. This again has been Rob Baugh joining us, last name Baugh. So I am thrilled that you were able to join us here and share all of these wonderful things. I'm so excited for what the future holds for you and all the difference you're making around. So my name again is Sue Roskopf, here with Michael Humel, and for all of us with Ability MKE now, we thank you.